Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, "It dawned on me that he was a wizard." The original OP is Mindless Tennis 4045, posted to r/Am I Overreacting, December 30th, 2024. Am I overreacting? After I found out that my boyfriend's online friend group I became part of 2 years ago has just been him the whole time? OP posts a photo of text messages. OP, I just want to know why. When it finally came time for the Hawaii trip, how were you going to explain that? What were you thinking? Redacted. You know something I've noticed about you? You can never just be calm, and there always has to be an issue. I know you were raised in a volatile environment and still have to relearn a lot about healthy relationship dynamics, but it's like you thrive on chaos only. And we were gonna see Wicked tonight. I guess there that goes. OP responds, you can't be serious. I deserve answers. I'm honestly so creeped out. Basically, half of my life for the past 2 years has been a complete and total lie, and you were behind all of it. Okay, don't be dramatic. You know this isn't a big deal. You're just giddy to harp on this and make a bigger issue. Text box below the text messages. I guess I should have been less oblivious, but since a little before we started dating in 2022, I was added to my boyfriend's, just friend at the time, 3-person Instagram group chat with what he explained were some of his closest online friends. The 2 other accounts seemed like real people because they had real followers and comments on their posts and drastically different aesthetics/looks to them. We eventually made a Discord server for us, and that alone was convincing enough since multiple times we'd all be active at the same time. We never voice chatted, but I used to never voice chat either, so I didn't think twice. The group got closer though, as more and more time passed since I was first added to their group chat. And last month, we got together and planned a research trip to Hawaii for August. We live on the East Coast of the US. Like, we booked everything. So imagine my surprise when I'm over at his house tonight and his computer is open and I just want to log into my Google Docs when I accidentally stumble across, first of all, follower bot sites, and also him logged in and chatting with me as one of the individuals I thought I had become close with. And just got this sinking feeling. I didn't jump to the idea that they could be fake either. I was like, maybe he just has their logins since they're all so close and is way too interested in their messages. But then I noticed their only chats were the group chats and the server, and the real kicker was the email address it was signed up under was his backup email with his full name. I quite literally snooped until he got out of the shower and caught me, which I'm not saying was right of me, but I couldn't help myself. During my snooping, I gradually became devastatingly confident that he wasn't behind just one, but both accounts. I've never seen his face so red, and he just absolutely panicked and started shouting at me to get out of his business. I couldn't even form the right words to say to him. In the end, I just walked out of his apartment, sobbing. It's very early in the morning, I get that, but this screenshot is what he has to say, and I'm starting to feel crazy. Am I overreacting about my discovery? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Not overreacting. Ghost him and be thankful you didn't procreate. OP responds, I think ghosting is exactly what I'm going to do, and right. LMAO. OP should leave her boyfriend if they live together. Not safe. OP responds, thankfully we've never lived together, so it'll be easy to discard him from my life ASAP. Commenter 2. That is seriously so fucking creepy. He probably made those accounts to try to get with you back when you were just friends, and then just continue with the lie after he won his prize. This is gross and unsettling. I wouldn't even want to be anywhere near him after that. OP responds, God, yeah, that tracks. Looking back, they did hype him up an awful lot. Bruh. Brief update. December 30th, 2024. Same day, 4 hours later. Another screenshot of text messages. Boyfriend. Do you want to get our tickets off the AMC app or buy them at the theater? Just got this. He still hasn't explained himself, essentially at all. I'm going to take the advice of the majority of the comments section and block him on everything. Thank you so much for all your kindness and support. I've not slept at all, as this is just such a bizarre situation. So, I appreciate you all. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. This is messed up. Has he otherwise been a functional member of society? Was he afraid to admit he didn't have any friends? OP responds, yeah, this is honestly shocking. I thought he was just mean sometimes, not additionally crazy and the other proper words. He has a best friend in his hometown. Update. Same day, 1 hour later. I assume people will be looking at my account, so I just wanted to reassure you of my safety and leave you with this for now. I honestly have the biggest migraine of my life, and I haven't slept at all. Nothing similar to this has ever happened to me before, but my life has been crazy enough to where I wasn't able to prepare for the huge reaction something like this gets. I knew it was bizarre, but I didn't know it would jump to the top of everything. I assumed it would collect some advice or opinions I could read, and then the post would get lost in the void, like how it goes with the majority of my others, but I sincerely appreciate every bit of support. Unfortunately, I'm also being bombarded with hate and nasty messages, and my headache keeps getting worse. So I need to get off Reddit for today, but I don't want to just ghost and make people think something horrible happened, because I am taking the steps to make sure nothing does. He does have my address, but I live with my family in an apartment building that needs a key fob to get in, so I have at least those 2 layers of safety for now. But for some reason, I doubt that at least today there will be any attempts at a personal confrontation. And even then, I'm confident I'll be able to remain safe and far away as possible in the case he does come around. I've alerted some of my real friends of the situation as well, and they will be close to me as much as they can. So please, do not worry when I'm not active for the rest of today. I'm just getting nauseous from my headache, and I don't want to start the day feeling like this. Top comments. Commenter 1. To add to the alt theme, this guy is clearly very adept on how to use the internet to further his own means. The fact that your posts exploded means he's likely seen them if he spends any time on Reddit, and he'll be using this as a means to get to you, your friends, and anyone you trust as a method of spreading misinformation about you. I know you're asleep, but this isn't something that you should sit on until tomorrow. I'm not sure what the correct course of action there is, but inform your family and call police non-emergency to let them know that there's an issue. They may have some indication for what to do next. I'd also arrange some scheduled wellness calls and safe words with people you trust, where if you don't check in, then it signals an alarm, and they can verify that who you're talking to is you. Tell them the safe words over the phone by voice so it can't be gleaned from your message history. I'm not trying to be dramatic or overreact here, but this kind of extreme situation requires even more extreme countermeasures. Please, treat it with the gravity that it deserves. Commenter 2. Based off what he's already done, I wouldn't be surprised if he assembled a bot army to post some of the hateful/nasty responses you're getting, lol. But for real, getting offline and taking care of yourself is a good next step. Good luck. Heart emoji. Commenter 3. Is your family aware of what's going on too? It's vital you start telling those you trust exactly what's happened so that they understand the gravity of the situation. Also, get in there before he starts lying, because he absolutely will. Commenter 4. Also assume all of your devices are compromised. He's probably tracking you everywhere online. You need to spend some time securing your accounts and devices. Little non-update, December 30th, 2024. The same day, 11 hours later. I still see people concerned for my safety, so even though I'm taking a break for today, I just want to share that I have received no communication from him today, and ended up going on a hike with a friend, and then out to dinner, and drinks, and had a nice time. I'm home with my family now, and hopefully the rest of the night is uneventful. So, thankfully, while OP has not updated on this story any further, they have been fairly active on Reddit since then, and seem to be living a pretty healthy life, and are posting pretty consistently, which honestly is probably the best outcome. There's no additional drama, things calm down, the boyfriend didn't try to ruin her life, and she's just been able to live. Considering this guy fabricated an entire reality to get her close to him, and in addition pretty much played 3 of her friends at once? That's a pretty fucking scary situation to be in, to learn that for 2 years, he fabricated an entire friend group just to get closer to you. That's scary. I've certainly had my fair share of alt accounts being used against me, but this kind of stuff is awful. And I wouldn't be surprised if the boyfriend was in fact using Reddit alt accounts with his email addresses to essentially send OP hate. Because, and I've spoken about this previously, the fact that in today's modern age, one person can seem like 10, 20, or even 30 people, all giving you the same opinion, the same negative, nasty comments, it can really fuck with your psyche. I mean, hell, back during the whole drama fiasco that happened at this point, thankfully almost 2 years ago, there was a commenter that was going around and they would use, I think in total, it was upwards to 13 to 15 alt accounts, and he would have entire conversations with himself. And I figured out it was just this one guy doing that because all the accounts were made within the same window. When I would hide them from the comment section, a new one would appear, and then a new one would appear. And then if they weren't hidden from the main channel, then they would talk with each other and create this like whole false narrative. One problem was, they used the same insults, they used the same sentence structure, they used the same grammatical flow and consistency, so it was obvious that it was him. It also didn't help that when I called them out and called them by that name, they responded and didn't question it until later. So, oopsie whoopsie, bit of a fuck up there. But yeah, just extremely sad behavior. And honestly, the only thing I could think of that entire time when that guy was doing that was just, I hope you can get the mental health and help and care that you need. Because at this point in time, you've been doing this for 1.5 years. You need help. They've since gone quiet, so I can only hope that maybe they stopped. But when someone goes and they build essentially a false narrative by using a bunch of alt accounts, that stuff fucks with your mind. This post was collected by Bathan. The original OP is Desert Nurse 760, posted to r/HOA. HOA tried to tow my legally permitted vehicle twice in 1 day. Post number 1, The Catalyst. 2 attempted towings. I paid cash for a 2-bedroom condo in April. The condo came with 2 parking permits, 1 red, 1 green. The updated rules that were sent to me after closing states that an owner gets 2 parking permits, 1 for covered parking and 1 for uncovered parking. However, the rules do not state which permit is for which parking. Walking around the neighborhood revealed both green and red permits under covered parkings, as well as about half of the vehicles showing no permit at all. 1 week ago, I received a notice on my windshield that my car would be towed for not showing the proper permit, even though the permit was clearly visible in the corner of the passenger side windshield. In fact, the notice was placed under the passenger wiper blade directly above the permit. I called the management company and informed them of their mistake, along with a picture of the permit in the corner of the windshield. I thought that this would solve the problem. I was wrong. I'm a nurse, and I work the nocturnal shift. At about 1300, my wife came in, screaming that one of our cars was being towed. I immediately got up, got dressed, and went outside to find an employee of the management company directing a tow truck to tow my car. She said that it was being towed because it had the wrong color permit. I immediately pulled up the rules and regulations on my phone and asked her to show me where the color codes were explained. She couldn't do that because that explanation doesn't exist in the rules. But she refused to stop the towing company, so I had no choice but to call the police. Upon arrival, I explained to the officers what was happening and showed them the rules and regulations on my phone, and both of my cars with the proper permits. They told the management employee and the tow company that they had no reason to tow my car. The rep hemmed and hawed that I was parked wrong, even if the rules didn't say so. The cop ordered the tow company to release my car. Problem solved, right? Wrong. I go back to bed and just fall asleep when my wife comes in screaming that they're towing the car again. I go back outside and the same cop is there from earlier. This time, the president of the management company, the one who oversees the HOA board meetings, is there along with the same tow truck driver and employee from before. This time, my car is already up on the flatbed. The manager told police that I still had the wrong permit to use covered parking, even though it was the right one according to this unwritten rule that I had learned of earlier in the day. The cop asked the manager if she had inspected the permit before calling for the car to be towed. She admitted that she hadn't and was just going off of what the employee had told her from earlier. The cop asked her to verify that the permit was the right color to be undercover parking, and she hesitantly admitted that it was. The cop was visibly perturbed and again ordered the tow truck to release my vehicle. He then gave a stern talking to the manager about making false claims and not verifying for herself what her employee told her. The cop gave me a case number and said that both reports would be available in 24 hours. I plan to use those reports to bring this to the attention of the HOA board, as I know for certain that the manager will try to sweep this under the rug, or will refuse to even acknowledge this incident. What should my next step be? Too long didn't read, the HOA management company tried to tow my legally parked car twice in one day. Update 1. Police reports and HOA shenanigans. I was finally able to get to the police station for the police reports from that day. Report 1 at 14:02. Management believes he does not have proper parking permit, but per RP, he does. Civil issue between the RP, reporting person, and the management/HOA board over parking. The property has parking guidelines which are unclear of what vehicle could park where. Reporting person has been having issues with one specific board member who he states harasses him. Reporting person was advised he could obtain a civil harassment order. Reporting person's vehicle was not towed. Report 2 at 18 o'clock. Subject has credentials to park where he was told not to park. HOA did not verify before calling tow. They have been counseled. Truck had proper parking pass. HOA manager did not verify before calling a tow. They have been told they must verify prior to calling a tow or else they could face civil issues. I think that this pretty much shows how wrong the HOA management was. I'm talking to an attorney about my best legal options. I will update here as things move forward. Edit on July 25th. I received word from the HOA management company that I would not be allowed to attend the online meeting tomorrow because it was only for the listed owner, who happens to be my wife. And I have a full, legal, valid, and notarized power of attorney that gives me exclusive rights to discuss the property with the HOA board and HOA management. I shot back a nasty email telling the management company to go back to law school. In the comments, an additional update. I received a letter from the HOA today stating that I am being fined for parking violations and that I have a board hearing scheduled for July 26th. These people have no shame or sense of decency. You can bet they haven't bothered to request the police reports that show the fault to be entirely of their own making. Update 2. Barred and banned. There was an attempt to bar me from the meeting 2 days before it was scheduled. For reasons I won't go into now, the condo is held in a trust with my son as the beneficiary, which means from a legal standpoint, he is the holder of the deed. The HOA management company tried to argue that only deed-holding owners can participate in violation hearings. This, despite me having a fully encompassing power of attorney for my son that explicitly gives me the power to manage all real estate holdings. In the end, my son sent an email to the HOA management designating me as his representative in the matter, and they were forced to accept it. However, the meeting was postponed until August 3rd. Edit. I was banned from r/HOA for my previous post. Apparently, they don't take too kindly to people exposing HOA's fuck-ups. Edit 2. From the first viewing to the close of escrow, I have always been the point of contact. The power of attorney specifically to this property has been on file with A, the escrow company, B, the BIA, the condo is unleased Indian land, C, my financial institution, D, the HOA management company, the one causing these problems, and E, the home insurance company. The HOA management company did not even know any of my son's contact info prior to the 24th, as they have never had any reason to interact with him due to the power of attorney. This was a ploy to prevent me from representing myself at the hearing, but it backfired on them. Update 3 is just a paraphrase summary. The meeting was rescheduled twice. Update 4. Illegal open letter. Today, I received a letter from the HOA management that I have violated the CC&R and R&R regulations by posting my open letter to HOA members on the HOA bulletin board that is located at the front of the complex next to the mailboxes. I had posted the letter that I had sent to the HOA board regarding the international harassment by the board regarding my properly permitted vehicle being intentionally towed on July 7th. I went through both the rules and regulations and the CC&Rs and could find no mention of HOA members posting on the HOA bulletin board being illegal. Interestingly, the letter states my violation as posting letter illegally on HOA info boards. I'm no lawyer, but illegally generally means there's some state or local law prohibiting an act. HOA rules aren't local, state, or federal law, so I don't know why they're using the term illegally. No worries, I laughed it off. My wife and I have decided to go ahead with filing suit against the HOA. We have retained an experienced law firm that only represents homeowners in HOA disputes. We'll update as things move forward. Update 5. More shenanigans, including harassment. It's been a long 2 days. First off, while this parking drama has been unfolding, there's a second issue that I have been dealing with. That is, an HOA board member ambushing and harassing me in the parking lot when I leave for work at night. This has happened twice in the 5 months that we've lived here. This is the board member who has placed security cameras at various places around the building, including one that he had pointed at the pool area, apparently recording people at the pool, including children. As a result, I had determined that my best course of action, after filing a complaint with the HOA board twice, which was ignored both times, was to request a restraining order against this individual. A temporary restraining order was denied by the court and a hearing was scheduled for today, August 18th, to consider the regular restraining order. I arrived at court only to be told that the hearing was rescheduled for September 1st. Important to note is that I received no notice of the date change, as is required by law. Upon arriving back home, I was greeted by an email from a high-priced HOA law firm out of Los Angeles. The letter basically states they are representing the board member and that my restraining order request has no merit because he was acting within his duties as an HOA board member. What the letter failed to mention was that the first instance of harassment took place before he was seated on the board. The letter goes on about frivolous lawsuits, having to pay the board members legal fees, blah blah blah. It's a bullshit letter designed to scare me off of pursuing the restraining order. One thing of note in the letter is its attempt to conflate my restraining order request with my continuous parking violations. This board member is the same one who has 2 parking passes that allow him to park both his cars under the carport. Us regular peons only get 1. The hearing. I logged on through Zoom to find only the HOA management representative with her camera on. The other 4 board members, including the one I have the restraining order pending against, were all blacked out. The HOA rep insisted that it was I that requested the meeting and therefore there would be no questions. I would state my case and the board would decide in executive session what my fate would be. I argued that it wasn't me who requested the meeting. It was the board that sent the violation notice to me. Anyway, I made my case the best I could by pointing out that no new owners were told what permit was for what parking. I then pointed out that a letter was sent in February with the details of the parking permits, but that I never received that letter when I closed escrow in April. And that letter explicitly states that the permits are non-transferable and registered to the individual unit/owners. So the board member with 2 red permits is in violation of the HOA's rules and regulations. My pleas fell on deaf ears. So now I wait to hear my fate. My wife, who has been supportive, has had enough. She's ready to sell and get the fuck out of this nightmare. She went so far as to arrange our realtor to meet with us this Saturday. The good news is that prices have increased roughly 15 to 20% in just 5 months. So if we sell, we'll just break even, considering our closing costs. Update 6. Gathering an army to fight evil. Things are looking up. Something that I have not mentioned up to now is my ongoing attempt at engaging as many other homeowners as I can in the workings of the HOA and management company. To that end, I set up a Zoom call and spread the word. The call was this afternoon and 15 homeowners logged on. All of them related stories from hell concerning the management company and its principal agent, who is the de facto head of the HOA. And all agree that the management company needs to be replaced. One of the homeowners is an active member of the HOA board, but is resigning next week. He indicated the 2 other board members are either resigning or moving, so that there will be 3 empty seats in the board. Of the 15 on the call, 3 agreed to be nominated to fill those empty slots. It's a start towards cleaning up the HOA board and replacing the management company with a competent one. Update 7. Oh. Lots of you have messaged me asking for an update. Since my last post, the number of disgruntled homeowners who are unhappy with the HOA board and management company has grown to 46 out of 120 units. A fairly sizable chunk. We've been having weekly Zoom meetings to strategize our responses to the monthly HOA meeting, which happened on September 22nd. We had sent a letter to the board prior to the meeting indicating that we had 3 homeowners who were willing to be appointed to the board for the remainder of the term, which expires in February. As I posted earlier, there are 2 board vacancies, and another board member, the one who's been harassing me, is in escrow and should be closing this week. Our grievances were simple. We are unanimous that the management company should not be in control of the HOA board. The board should control the management company. Many owners expressed dissatisfaction with the parking rules and the fact that the HOA never clearly defined them. Virtually all of us expressed the opinion that the management company should be terminated for a whole host of reasons. At the start of the meeting, the management, which is really just one person, muted everyone and refused to let anyone talk until the board appointed 2 of their own people to the vacancies. No discussion was allowed. No questions to the new board members were allowed. Our candidates were not even considered, and the entire board refused to be on camera. Further, the management would not allow any questions. We could only make statements that were less than 3 minutes long. In her opening, she mentioned a $7,000 legal bill that she stated the board had incurred defending a board member from an angry homeowner. That would be me. She then opened the floor, but would only unmute one person at a time. Person after person expressed their displeasure that 2 new board members were appointed without any discussion or input from the homeowners. Many asked why the board member who was in escrow did not resign from the board and allow at least one of our candidates to be appointed. Again, neither the board nor the management answered any questions. There was talk about a recall, which most of my coalition supported. One member, who is not part of our group, asked about the $7,000 legal expense, but the board, again, refused to answer. When it became my turn, I explained the best I could in 3 minutes why the HOA paid an attorney 7 Gs and how I had been continually harassed by the board and management. The next few speakers demanded that the HOA and management immediately cease payment to the attorney and asked why the members were not informed of the board's decision to hire one. Out of nearly 50 speakers, only one owner expressed approval of the board and the management company. After the meeting, I received a message for a 65-year-old female owner who forwarded me the harassment that she had endured by the same board member that has been harassing me. I was astounded by how similar our stories were. Her niece had been living with her and found this pervert filming her from his kitchen window, which overlooks the pool area. Same thing happened to my wife, which, along with the other harassment, was why I filed the restraining order. However, in hindsight, I made a very bad decision. When I discovered that his condo was in escrow, I withdrew the restraining order, thinking that he would soon be gone. After discovering this, I immediately sent the board a letter asking why someone who has a documented history of harassment was allowed to be appointed to the board in the first place. I have received no answer. That's it, in a nutshell. My group will meet on Zoom on Sunday to discuss what our next moves should be. I welcome your input. Update 8. A small win and the battle continues. It's been about a month since I last posted, so here's a quick update. After the previous HOA meeting on September 22nd, every homeowner received a letter stating that the board was levying a one-time $185 assessment fee to cover legal fees of $10,000 incurred by the board to defend the, now no longer, board member from my restraining order lawsuit, and to cover the recall election that was called for but then rescinded by my group. It was pointed out by one of us, who happens to be a lawyer, that every HOA board member must be covered under a director's and officer's liability insurance policy. The question was asked why the board did not file a claim on this policy before levying the assessment fee, and why we were being charged for an election recall that never happened. To date, the board has not responded to either question. On the legal front, I attended court on September 1st to formally withdraw my restraining order complaint on the board member who had been harassing me. I did it because the MLS listed his condo as an escrow, and I figured I wouldn't need a restraining order if he was moving out. The attorney hired by the HOA was there, and the judge asked him if he agreed with the dismissal. He answered that he did. Case closed. Or so I thought. A week later, I get a certified letter that they are suing me for attorney costs and fees. At that time, the bill was just under $10K. The letter claimed that because I withdrew my complaint, the board member was the prevailing party and was entitled to recover attorney fees, and listed a number of court cases in his defense. A quick Google revealed that all of those cases involved contract law, not civil restraining order cases. So, I typed up my response and filled it with the court. The hearing to determine if I owed them $10,000 was on October 21st. It took the judge less than 3 minutes to tear their argument to shreds and dismiss their case. Ergo, I'm not paying a dime to the board member or the HOA who hired the attorney. Keep in mind that this board member had resigned on September 24th when his condo sold, and the HOA attorney was still being paid to defend him. He didn't even come to court as he moved out of the state completely. On October 27th, there was another monthly HOA meeting. Again, the board allowed no Q&A, just 3 minutes per person. About 30 owners showed up. The day before, the HOA sent out a blast email to owners telling them that the legal fees had increased to $12,000 because of a resident who continues to cause trouble with the board, and that the $185 assessment was to cover that while they acknowledged that the recall effort was off the table. During my 3 minutes, I explained in bullet points the lawsuit, and that the HOA's case against me to collect attorney fees was denied and dismissed by the court. Others asked why the homeowners had to foot the bill for a civil issue not involving the HOA. Again, the board refused to answer any questions and told everyone that they could email their questions to the board. What a fucking cop-out. I understand that there has been considerable pressure mounting on the HOA to explain why the D&O insurance wasn't utilized to pay the legal fees. I surmise that the board knows that any investigation into the history of the offending board member would reveal that he had been accused of harassing other owners numerous times before he was seated on the board, and that would preclude him from being covered by the insurance policy. This is an evolving part of the story. On the parking issue, I discovered that the woman who signed the authorization to tow my wife's car is not an HOA employee or board member, nor is she employed by the management company. As far as we can tell, she is simply a friend of the manager. California law requires that the person authorizing a tow do so in an official capacity as a manager, board member, or employee of the HOA. Bringing this to the attention of the HOA and the management company has got me nothing but silence. I'm considering pursuing this in small claims court, as there's another owner whose car was towed that day who was also never provided with the parking rules when they purchased their condo. They are definitely suing the HOA in small claims to recoup the towing fees of nearly $400. That's it, in a nutshell. Nothing earth-shattering. I was relieved that the judge found in my favor in the lawsuit, and I know that a number of owners are demanding answers from the HOA board. My group is setting our sights on the HOA board election coming up in February. There is nothing the board can do to stop that from happening. I'll update as appropriate. Unfortunately, that's the last of the updates. OP has since been quiet, but I was able to find more context in the comments. User Gadget's dad comments, Occam's razor would be the insurance claim was denied on cause. The original OP responds, I called the insurance underwriter. The HOA never even filed a complaint on the D&O policy. Gadget's dad, now that is malfeasance under breach of fiduciary responsibility. OP responds, exact words I used in my letter to the board. Gadget's dad, any bets the books are a mess? OP responds, we have copies of the monthly financials going back 2 years. The books seem solid, although there is no line item for attorney fees in any of the last 4 months of the statements. That raises eyebrows because we now know that no insurance claim has been made either. In another comment thread, 7stir717 comments, in Texas, you have to have 67% of the owners vote in favor of a special assessment. If your HOA doesn't have $10K for legal fees, they really need to work on their finances. Seriously, they're only going to have issues going forward. Also, directors on the board shouldn't be towing cars, the property manager should. The directors direct the PM. They don't individually make decisions. Also, emailing all the directors or getting them all in a conversation could be seen as a meeting, which likely the membership needs prior notification of a meeting. If I were you, I would just contact the property manager. The board is unlikely to talk to you, especially with the legal disputes. Aren't HOAs fun? OP responds, the HOA has $700,000 in reserves, and there was talk about redoing the second-story balcony floors for a total of $48,000. But a special assessment apparently wasn't needed for that. The assessment is a ploy to get the other homeowners angry at me. So, judging by OP's private account history and the fact they haven't posted in quite a while, I'm left to assume things either got evened out and they just forgot to update, or, on a more complicated scenario, things got legal and they were kind of put into a position where they had to kind of keep up with a bunch of legal shenanigans, and just, when things ended, didn't update Reddit, or perhaps things didn't end favorably, so they didn't update Reddit. Who knows? The best kind of HOA is one you don't notice. You pay a fee, they collect your trash, or will do whatever responsibilities they've agreed to, and that's it. The fact that some HOAs have managed to find themselves being active stressors in other people's lives just tell me that some people have too much free time on their hands, are addicted to power, want some kind of power, and on top of all of that, just like making people miserable. This post was collected by Just a Thought From Me. The original OP is Fast But Safe 33, posted to r/legal advice October 3rd, 2019. I received a reckless driving ticket on my private property road/driveway. Before anyone gets upset about the speed, this is a gated off private road/driveway. There was zero chances of another car being on it unless they broke through a locked gate and trespassed on clearly marked private property. So my driveway is in a weird spot that goes alongside a highway for about 4 miles before turning off and up towards the house. The entire property is fenced off and gated/posted private property, no trespassing. It's about 800 feet from the highway and slowly moves further and further from the highway. I use my driveway as a place to work out kinks in my cars, get them set up properly, etc. before going to the drag strip. I love cars and try to do things as safely as possible. Roll cages, proper harnesses and helmet, etc. I never open them up on the road because I have no need to. I can do it on my own private property. Anyways, last night I was having fun with my newly broken-in engine swap car, doing a few runs back and forth. And after the 6th or 7th run down, I notice a cop with lights on, sitting down at the gate. I head down and tell him I'll be right back. I have to go get the key to the gate, but he insists I stay there. So I stay, and he demands license, registration, insurance. I tell him I have none of those on me, and the car isn't even registered or insured. I bring it to and from the track/strip on a trailer. I tell him this because the car isn't even street legal and is a track car. So he just gets my information from my name, date of birth, address, etc. I ask him why he's even here because this isn't a road. Why is he stopping me? He tells me reckless driving, and he has me on laser doing 162. I start to argue that this is a private road/driveway, clearly because he's sitting behind a locked gate, and how can I be recklessly driving on private property? He starts telling me I can go to jail if I keep arguing. After about 20 minutes of just standing at my gate, he gives me a ticket to sign for reckless driving. The ticket doesn't even have a posted speed for the road on it because this isn't a road. What do I need to bring to the court date to show this isn't a road and he has no jurisdiction to enforce traffic laws on? I'm not trying to cause a huge issue, but it's kind of stupid. He even gave me a ticket. I didn't feel like continuing to argue with him because it was going nowhere. I live in Texas, and the sheriff's department is who wrote the ticket. Update, January 4th, 2020. Before my court date came up, I went around to different county records offices and found an up-to-date plat map. Confirmed with several people that my driveway is not a road. I even had a friend come by who usually does drone photos for farms and had a nice photo of the entire property taken showing the driveway with a GPS marker so that it can be lined up with the plat map, so there's no confusion on if my driveway is or is not a road. 2 days before my court date, I received a call asking if I want to take a deal on the reckless driving and avoid the court time, etc. I said no and confirmed the date with them. Court date rolls around and my 10:30 a.m. time is just an estimate apparently, so I wait around until 2 p.m. Right before I'm finally called up, I'm offered the deal one last time. Again, I decline. This is where it gets odd and I'm not 100% sure what happened, but the judge opens a folder and briefly reads it, then calls up the county attorney. They talk for about a minute, then my case is dismissed. So, that's it. I asked the sheriff outside the courtroom if it's possible to talk to the judge about it, and I'm told the best way is to write him a letter. Not sure what he read in the folder, but I guess it was enough for him to see it was a pointless ticket. I did not see the sheriff who wrote me the ticket anywhere either that day. So, I guess we did it, Reddit, or something. Who knows? But now I get the fun of trying to figure out what my insurance wants as proof, so my rates don't jump because of the ticket. Damn, they really wanted to see if they could just get Opie to take a plea deal because a reckless driving ticket that you take a plea on, that's gonna fucking hurt. Also, normally insurance only takes tickets that have actually been confirmed, so if you get like a infraction for 5 over, but it gets dismissed, insurance isn't gonna know about it and they're not gonna care because it was dismissed. Now, if it adds points to your license, that's what they care about. Also, I am now adding property with a several mile long driveway to my bucket list of things I would like to own in life because that'd be pretty fucking cool. I'm gonna put a speed limit sign that says 500 miles an hour. So then when the cop tries to say that I'm reckless driving, I can point to the sign and say, "What now? That road says 500! Then that's when the smartass cop turns around and writes me a ticket for going, like, I don't know, 350 miles under the speed limit? Which, I don't know how the hell that would even go in court. But the concept sounds cool as hell, and I'll probably end up having to move to Wyoming for something like that to happen. But hey, an idiot can dream, huh? Okay, so unfortunately, instead of having a full amount of days off, I gotta take off like every single video that I got uploaded and redo all of them because I found out that GamerSupps is doing Christmas in July this year, again! And you should definitely be using code HYGH at checkout for 10% off. They got like a bunch of free stuff, you buy tubs up to 6, and you get just a ton. Like a ton of just free stuff with your order, up to like $250 in free gifts. They do this every year, so this is limited to while supplies last. The graphic says what they've got. So yeah, if that interests you, then definitely just take a peek. Starts today at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or at noon Pacific Time.